That's how three young, tremendous men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, got to those prominent positions of authority. But you must remember they were Judeans. They had come from a land that at least at one time had heard about the one God, to worship one God. They had remembered back in their minds, I am the Lord thy God, which hath brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And here they were in a land, in positions of authority and power. And this great leader had set up this statue on the plains of Dura of himself, made out of pure gold, and he demanded that they worship that as God. And so after these commands were given, these three great men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whenever the music played, they didn't bow. They didn't fall down on their face to worship that God. And naturally there was a lot of jealousy, because whenever you got men of God standing for God's word, all the unbelievers envy you, get jealous about you, want to defeat you, want to destroy you. And they figured the way to destroy them was to go back to the king and say, look, king, you got three great men here who are in responsible positions of authority, but you're the king. Therefore, O king, you live forever. They worked him real psychologically. And they said, you got those three fellows down here that are not bowing when they're supposed to. And this really was something. Because it says in verse 12, these men, O king, have not regarded thee. In other words, they didn't pay attention to what you said. They didn't believe it. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast what? Then Nebuchadnezzar got in a rage and fury, got real teed up, and he commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. And Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made well. But if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Boy, oh boy, imagine. You're in a responsible position of authority, like the Attorney General, let's say, of a state. And you're called in. And you're set right down, and you look into the governor's eye and the cabinet, and they say to you, listen, man, you haven't obeyed our orders. You haven't carried them out. Who do you think's going to deliver you? Who's going to set you free? The old king laid it right on him. He said, who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Nobody, because I'm King Nebuchadnezzar. Nobody can violate my orders. You can't do it. I've got the backing of the mafia and everybody else. All the unions, all the bureaucrats are supporting me right down the line. Nobody can touch me. Don't you know that? I'm even in charge of the World Bank. Sort of neat that these men were incarcerated and brought in, being men of that high authority and power. But maybe I ought to take you into a psalm and show you something about these men and that time. The 137th Psalm, please. by the rivers of Babylon. And the rivers of Babylon, Euphrates and Tigris. The Euphrates River went right through the center of that great city of Babylon. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion, when we remembered our homeland, when we remembered Jerusalem, when we remembered the worshiping of the true God. So, verse 2, we hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. They wanted a new song. And they that wasted us, that is, they laid heavy requirements upon us. They required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. They didn't anymore want to hear one of the songs of Zion. The barrel of monkeys want a toothbrush. Right. Yeah, but you see, they want to make fun of them. Oh, so you came from Jerusalem. You were there where the man of God read the word to you. Is that right? You were there singing the songs of Zion. And yet you've come over here in our place. And you hanged your harps upon the willows. You're not singing anymore. Come on, let us hear you sing. We want to hear one of those great songs of life. You know. Let's hear you. They said, verse 4, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? And strange land is for unbelievers. How shall we sing the Lord's song in an unbeliever's land? These were those men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Men, the greatest that all Israel had left. The Hebrew children, wonderful, committed men. Men not only of religious conviction, but ability. They were not placed as heads of state under Nebuchadnezzar because they graduated from kindergarten. They were men of ability. They were trained, they were educated, they were highly qualified men. But they had been taken away captive into this land. They couldn't sing because it was a night time for them. The songs in the night could not be sung because there were no believers. If you read this record in Daniel, you'll see also that they tried to make them eat food that they were not allowed to eat, according to the commandments of God. Anything to break them down so they wouldn't stand for the true God. Just like they work on you and me in our country today to get us away from God's word, to frighten us, to put fear into us. So they did here. And the old king said, look, I got this report. I don't care how great you are, how important you are. I'm King Nebuchadnezzar. Now either you obey those orders that I issued, else you're going to get thrown into that fiery furnace. Who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? That's what he yelled according to verse 15 of Daniel 3. Who is that God you talk about? Who is that God that can deliver you? Look, I can get you shot anytime I want. I can get you out of your job. I can take anything away from you. I'm the head of the union. I'm the head of the bureaucratic department. I'm the governor. I'm the head. Nebuchadnezzar said to those men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where is your God? What God you got that can protect you? And old Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, verse 16, and you listen to it. Nebuchadnezzar, we're not careful to answer thee in these matters. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. Our God is what? The king said to them, your God can't do it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego turned around and said, our God can do it. Now you've got a battle of minds. Where is your God that can deliver you? Nebuchadnezzar said. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, our God is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. Verse 18, be it known, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, our God is able. Our God is what? You know what they were saying? Our God is able, but if our believing's not big enough, it's okay. If our believing's not big enough, I want to tell you something, O king, that will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. That's commitment, ladies and gentlemen. That's commitment. That's right. That's even a bigger commitment than WW, I think, almost. That's right. The king said one thing, where's your God that'll deliver us? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, our God is able to deliver us. But if not, if our believing's not big enough for our God to deliver us, I want to tell you something, old Nebuchadnezzar. We're not going to bow down and we're not going to worship your golden image.